Bonjour à tous, bonjour. Est-ce que vous m'entendez bien? J'aimerais juste être sûr que vous m'entendiez bien avant de commencer cette webconférence sur BigFix. Est-ce que tout le monde peut m'entendre? Vous pouvez répondre avec les questions, ou peut-être que MRH, tu m'entends bien?
Bonjour tout le monde. Oui,
Parfait, bon,
je
j'ai
vous
l'impression
entends.
que tout le monde m'entend. C'est bon, parfait. Donc bonjour à tous, moi je m'appelle Tanguy Leroux, je travaille pour HCL en tant que Business Partner Manager et notamment avec Agileum. Aujourd'hui, on va vous faire un webinaire sur notre solution BigFix et comment est-ce qu'elle sécurise votre entreprise et votre business. L'agenda d'aujourd'hui sera en 3 parties. Voilà, 3 parties. Première partie, présentation d'HCL et de Agileum, donc très rapide. Vous nous connaissez là pour la plupart, soit Agileum, soit HCL, mais voilà, c'est important quand même de remettre en situation qui nous sommes. Après, on vous parlera de BigFix, donc ce sera une présentation de slides sur BigFix. Cette partie sera en anglais. Et ensuite, une démonstration. Bien évidemment, vous avez accès à la partie questions, donc n'hésitez pas à poser toutes les questions que vous souhaitez. Nous y répondrons et on est là pour vous aider. Donc, je vais commencer en faisant ma présentation sur la partie d'HCL et après, je laisserai la parole à Emraj puis à Ben qui seront vos interlocuteurs pour ce webinaire. Pour information, d'ailleurs, ce webinaire est enregistré, donc n'hésitez pas à poser vos questions et vous aurez accès à l'enregistrement. Alors, qu'est-ce que HCL Software? HCL, ça veut dire Industrial Computers Limited. C'est une entreprise indienne, un des leaders du secteur, avec une forte croissance ces dernières années, notamment 16% en 2020, et on atteint les 10 milliards de chiffre d'affaires. Donc, c'est peut-être pas connu en termes de marque, néanmoins, c'est une très grosse entreprise, 150 000 personnes dans le monde, une présence dans 95 pays. À la base, HCL, c'est 3 business units, donc 3 modes, comme on appelle chez HCL. Le mode 1 qui fait de l'infogérance, le mode 2 qui fait de la programmation et du développement de solutions pour des entreprises tierces, notamment IBM, et vous allez comprendre pourquoi par la suite. Et l'entreprise 3, c'est HCL Software, cette entreprise qui nous réunit aujourd'hui. Donc moi, je fais partie de ce mode 3, HCL Software. Il a été créé il y a très peu de temps, il y a tout juste 1 an et demi, donc le 1er juillet 2019, suite au rachat de 8 business units à IBM. Parmi ces business units, il y a notamment BigFix, qui est notre solution de Endpoint Management, mais pas que. On a des solutions collaboratives, Domino Notes Connection Digital Experience, des solutions de sécurité, AppScan, et d'autres plus commerciales, plus business avec Unica e-commerce. Pourquoi est-ce qu'il y a eu ce rachat? Pour la simple et bonne raison qu'en fait, à force de développer ces solutions pour IBM, en fait, HCL souhaitait devenir éditeur. Et ça a été un achat qui a été pensé depuis des dizaines, des dizaines, on va dire, de 5 à 10 ans, car en fait, HCL travaille sur ces solutions pour le compte d'IBM depuis 2016. Je vais passer rapidement parce que c'est important de se focaliser sur BigFix, mais quelque chose que je souhaitais aussi vous parler sur nos produits et sur la philosophie d'HCL. Ce qu'on souhaite faire, c'est satisfaire nos clients, non pas par des marketing ou par des grands shows, mais vraiment par nos produits. Le cœur de notre métier, c'est être éditeur et on met l'accent, on met l'investissement sur nos produits. On souhaite faire une mise à jour majeure par produit par an, une mise à jour mineure par produit par trimestre. Jusqu'à présent, notre roadmap, et on en est très fiers, on l'a parfaitement tenu. On a sorti la dernière version de BigFix en avril dernier. Depuis, on a eu des mises à jour mineures qui ont été faites, bien évidemment, et une mise à jour BigFix qui arrivera, bien évidemment, en 2021. une petite présentation, bien évidemment, vous aurez accès à cette présentation, donc je passe rapidement, mais pour vous expliquer, enfin, HCL Software dans son ensemble, donc l'entité qui nous réunit, c'est 4000 collaborateurs, présents dans 95 pays et des laboratoires de recherche un peu partout dans le monde, comme vous pouvez le voir. Et enfin, pour finir, et je vais laisser la parole à Emraj, je voulais vous présenter aussi notre portefeuille, car on a racheté 8 business units à IBM. Néanmoins, on ne s'arrête pas là. Depuis, on a fait du développement interne et du développement externe aussi. On a des solutions qui sont en partenariat avec IBM, ce qui nous permet d'avoir un portefeuille aujourd'hui de solutions très large et de répondre aux besoins des clients dans son ensemble. Je vais m'arrêter ici et je vais laisser maintenant la parole à Emraj qui va continuer en anglais. Si vous avez des questions, vous pouvez me contacter par email à tanguy.leroux@hcl.com ou tout simplement contacter Emraj qui vous mettra en relation et on sera ravi de vous faire une présentation soit à plus approfondie sur BigFix, soit sur d'autres solutions, à savoir que Agileum a l'accord de commercialiser et de travailler sur l'ensemble de notre portefeuille chez HCL Software. So now let's switch in English because I think it's going to be better for everybody. Emraj, the stage is yours.
Yes, merci Tanguy. Thank you everyone. Thank you for attending today's session. My name is Emraj Bhutan. I am partner at Agileum. And first of all, thank you, Tanguy. Thank you, Ben, for this opportunity to be able to associate ourselves again with HCL. Of course, we've been working with several of HCL's solutions since quite a few years, for example, BigFix. Since BigFix acquisition by HCL, we've also have the pleasure and we are happy to be HCL's partner for Indian Ocean region, and again to be associated with today's webinar. Next slide. So I think, like Tanguy mentioned, I think everybody knows a little bit about Agileum. So we are roughly 125 plus employees. We used to be known as DCDM Consulting in the region. There was a rebranding exercise 5 years ago, and we rebranded ourselves to Agileum. We have 70 plus active customers worldwide. When we started as DCDM Consulting, and now as Agileum, we have more than 25 plus years of experience in consulting, outsourcing, and other new technologies. So we are a recognized player in Mauritius, in the Indian Ocean region, and we have structured ourselves in 4 service lines, which we call 4 digital transformation pillars, and security is one key transformation pillar. And the partnership with HCL is one of the reasons why we've and the solution, BigFix solution, is one key reason, and the partnership also is key for the security service line and transformation pillar. So we have 4 global partners, and HCL, we are happy again to mention that HCL is among those 4 global partners. We've mentioned that we are present in the Indian Ocean region, but we have an office in Central Africa. We have offices in East Africa. We operate in Europe also. We have projects in Europe, outsourcing projects, and today's webinar, and the idea is to continue working with HCL, position BigFix solution, and implement projects in the region. So having said that, I will now hand over to Ben, who will continue in English. And Ben, up to you.
Thanks so much. Just need to set up presenting on my side. A moment.
I gave you the
Please
right.
may knock me off a moment. Yeah, one moment.
Now you can present. Should I give you another access?
No, I think I've yeah, make the other me presenter, please.
Now it's good.
Thank you. Perfect. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Thanks. Thank you all for joining. Apologies, this presentation is in English. My French is not good enough, but I'm going to show you a few slides to talk you through what BigFix is, why we use it in the industry, what are the benefits of using BigFix, some use cases for BigFix, the architecture, and followed by a short demo at the end for the interface and how to patch an endpoint. So before I start, let me introduce myself. My name is Ben Blackburn. I'm a technical advisor with HCL BigFix. I've been working on BigFix for coming to 6 years now, 4.5 of which were at IBM. And I think that pattern is represented across HCL. The majority of the worldwide technical team of BigFix moved with BigFix to HCL. So definitely while BigFix is new to HCL in terms of an owning method, it's certainly not new in terms of technology or new in terms of experience. So BigFix itself was founded in 1997. It was purchased by IBM because they had literally hundreds of thousands of endpoint servers, desktops, laptops, and with that, you know, multiple OSs, lots of Linux, lots of mainframe, lots of Windows, lots of Mac. So using a tool that can manage all those endpoints is critical, but it made business sense to purchase that tool and use it internally. Now, as of 2017, HCL and IBM got into partnership, and that development of BigFix was done by HCL. So again, while HCL has only owned BigFix for 18 months, they've been developing BigFix for 3 years now. So what does that mean for users, and what does that mean for customers? Well, HCL are a lot more focused on working with customers and working with clients. So we as technical advisors and the team are driven more to engage with customers, to help customers with small issues, large issues. The HCL team have already doubled the development team, and I think they're close to tripling that number as well. And you'll see where we've come from and where we are now in terms of how far BigFix has moved along since at HCL. We've got multiple user groups and masterclasses and online training that we're making available. It was supposed to be face-to-face, but obviously given the current economic climate, that isn't the case. And also delivering more RFEs, less focused to what one industry wants, but more towards if a client needs a specific RFE, we will listen. We've got a whole portal developed specifically so we can get that information from you and put that content into working. Ultimately, while BigFix is new to HCL, the experience with the technical advisors and the commercial team, the experience of HCL in development for the past few years means that you're in very safe hands. So what problems would an endpoint management solution solve? First of all, with every growing architecture, you'll see lots of point products, a patching tool for Windows, maybe a patching tool for Linux. Maybe you'll have a separate remote control tool and a separate software inventory tool, then some separate tools for software compliance or security compliance functionality, and then maybe a provisioning tool for OS. Now, this means that not only do you have lots of separate tools that do separate things, but that's also broken down another level by separate tools based on OS. Now, with all of these separate tools, it means you have separate consoles, separate servers, separate agents, separate infrastructure, and likely separate training and separate licenses. So these degrees of complexity make managing all your endpoints quite complicated. And when you do have an issue like an audit or a vulnerability, trying to get the right information from the right tool that is up to date from the right team or the right people, it makes things just more and more complicated. Now, along with the complication is a cost. It means you have, again, separate tools, separate licenses. So consolidating all that infrastructure is really key to keeping that whole process as simple as possible. Secondly, issues with roaming endpoints, especially nowadays with more people working from home, and prior to that, people working from coffee shops and airports. How you manage servers and desktops in the office historically was a relatively easy job. How you manage laptops and devices that are often at work, off the corporate VPN, working from home with differing internet, or again, working from coffee shops or airports, makes the job of the operations team that much more complicated, because it's hard to know what all the computers are doing, where they are they in drawers, are they on holiday? Remote endpoints that are, in this case, dark to IT. And again, the harder it is to manage these endpoints, the further they are away from the IT team, the easier it is for malware to end up on the machines, entry points for attackers, limited visibility. And thirdly, having communication with these machines is key, because many tools use scans. So it's all very well doing a scan on a Monday morning and understanding the IT posture of your endpoints. But if malware ends up on an endpoint on Tuesday, you won't find out about it until the next Monday. That's 6 days worth of trouble that malware can cause, 6 days of visibility you don't have, and 6 days of risk that you shouldn't be subjected to. So reducing that timeline is critical. Allow all endpoints to be as patched and compliant as up to date, and give all the visibility to the right people as regularly as possible, as up to date as possible, so that the team, the company, the business can make business decisions based on up to date information rather than information that is a week old. Ultimately, it's about simplifying your IT architecture, simplifying your IT infrastructure, multiple OS, disparate servers in data centers or headquarters, laptops and desktops in the office, laptops and desktops out the office, simplifying it into one nice rationalized hierarchical structure. So one tool can manage as much of that functionality as possible through one server, through one agent, one method of communication, and ultimately drive solutions to all these issues. So why are enterprises buying BigFix? Very easy question to ask. The number of vulnerabilities, the increased number of vulnerabilities that we're picking up on have been around. They're not particularly new or 0 day. They've been around for a while. Users running old versions of software, old OS versions. You know, these are the easy access for target attackers to get in and cause problems. So all this malware stuff can very easily be remediated against. But again, having contact with those machines, maintaining and managing those machines is the tricky part. So I've got a use case here, an example of a US bank that, again, had multiple tools for patching and other endpoint management functionality. And they got to a point where, especially with banking and financial institutes, they have a lot of pressure, a lot of visibility from governments. So they were in a position where they had to identify which patches were available, but also identify which endpoints were not compliant and therefore in need of patching. Now, this is particularly tricky if you think of the number of applications any endpoint may have on it, any bank may have on it. Some are in-house applications, some are third-party applications. Getting an understanding of what needs to be patched and when, what is important, what is not important, is quite an arduous task. So getting the patches is one thing, but understanding which patches need to be rolled out on which endpoints as quickly as possible is the kind of the second part of that puzzle. In this case, BigFix helped because not only do you get the content from the vendors, we automatically check the content, we do first line testing, but as soon as that content ends up in your server, that content is automatically validated against all the endpoints in your environment. So you get a new Windows patch down, it will only be applicable for those Windows machines. If it's a Windows patch for Server 2016, it will only be applicable to those endpoints. So that validation process automatically happens on BigFix, and therefore the IT team are not going through the due diligence they need to do in order to understand which endpoints, because that's automatically done with BigFix, thereby reducing that time frame and allowing across multiple OS to have visibility of what endpoints need what patches and the implications of such. A few more use cases. An Asia Pacific bank reduced power usage by 25%. Again, because of the way BigFix works, you can manage multiple endpoints, including ATMs, as shown, and makes an efficient platform for patching management, and in this case, software distribution. Western Federal Credit Union used BigFix to patch again, but again, they used it to look at software inventory. So not just what endpoints need patching, but what software is on my endpoints. You know, is it part of a license? Am I over licensed or under licensed? Kind of granular information about your endpoints, which ultimately supports the auditing team, the software license review team, so that they know what's going on in their environments, and when a vendor comes knocking, they can say, no, don't worry about it. We are compliant with the licenses we've got, not a problem. And lastly, Centrist banks, they maintain a 98.5% patch and update compliance rate and decrease their patch cycle from 2 to 3 weeks down to 2 to 3 days. Again, utilizing that validation process that BigFix automatically does, utilizing the auto patch policies whereby you can designate patching out to machines without even touching the console, and also reduces the human interaction and the timeline, the impact there. So ultimately, what is BigFix? So BigFix is a platform. So regardless of what part of BigFix you're interested in, the server is the same. You get the server, you install the server, and you put an agent on every single endpoint, regardless of what part of BigFix. Now, that's the same server, whether you're using IT operations style functionality or IT inventory functionality or security compliance functionality, one platform. And that one platform manages Windows, Linux, Unix, macOS. It's highly scalable. One server can manage 250,000 endpoints globally. And ultimately, it's designed to lower cost, improve security, and simplify this endpoint management. Again, if you've got all of your endpoints reporting into one tool across all of your OSs, when you need to make a decision, you look at one set of information, up-to-date information to make that decision. So the platform is broken down into 4 key modules. Patch, in short, is a patching module. It does OS patching, OS application patching, third-party application patching, VM patching. Now, patch itself is included in lifecycle and included in BigFix compliance. BigFix lifecycle, in short, is really an IT operations module. It's very much aimed at the day-to-day management of endpoints. So yes, including patching, but also software distribution, any task automation functionality, remote control if you're helping users from home, and any endpoint deployment, rolling out new laptops or re-imaging laptops from Windows 7 to Windows 10. Very much day-to-day IT operations style functionality. Conversely, BigFix compliance is more focused towards the security part of the business. So again, includes patch because that's real key for visibility, but you instead are looking at if I have a group of patches, then where's the intelligence to tell me which patch needs to be patched first? If I got a more critical set of machines or a more critical patch that needs to go out, what are the associated CVEs? What are the vulnerabilities associated with this patch or software I've got on a machine that doesn't have that patch? Can I set up and leverage checklists based on government standards against my machines? I want to ensure every machine is up to the high standards that we set internally. Perhaps that's password length or access to specific files, or even something trivial as screensavers. I want to set a baseline for my computer security, and I want to have reporting and visibility of whether my endpoints are in line with that and ultimately improve them up to a standard. I also have the ability to quarantine endpoints off the network and pull in data from AV tools, so I can manage that all from one dashboard, update signatures. Lastly, I've got BigFix inventory. Now, with the BigFix platform out the box, you get an understanding of what software is on computers because the agent pulls that data back. Now, where BigFix inventory differs is it gives you granular software inventory. So not just what software, but how often is it used? Who's it used by? How often are they using it for? How many times have they used it? When was the last time they used it? Also, is the number of licenses I have, are they part of a contract? What's the monetary value to that contract per license? If I have 1,000 licenses, how many deployments of that software do I have? Am I over deployed? Am I under deployed? Let me see a report on the delta. Also, hardware inventory. What are my computer groups doing? Do I have specifically virtualized environments? How are the LPARs broken down? Am I monitoring PVUs from some vendors? Very granular software inventory, but again, all leveraged from the same agent, from the same server, from the same communication pathway. Ultimately, give you that asset information that you need to make business decisions, reduce the likelihood of over deployment of software, and reduce software spend if you're not using the licenses that you've got in your environment.
Just Ben, we have 2 questions. One that is the compliance tool integrated with Qualys now? So if I'm right, you will tell about this in the next slide, if I'm right.
Sure. So I've got a slide about integrations in 2 or 3 slides time. The Qualys integration is due anytime now. So yeah.
Okay, that was good. The second question, is the inventory up to PCI standards?
Yeah, we've got reporting the PCI. That's not a problem. Off the top of my head, it leverages ISO 19770 out the box, but I'll check on that and get back to you.
Okay, and the last question for macOS compliance, do you need Apple DEP or Apple BU Business Manager to be integrated?
Just say the question again for me, Tanguy.
For macOS compliance, do you need Apple DEP or Apple DEP, I don't know, or Apple Business Manager to be integrated?
For compliance, no, not that I'm aware of. DEP is essentially the ability to roll out devices with a kind of a preset allocation. So you open the box and the device is already registered to you with the applications that you need specifically to you. No, not that I'm aware of, but again, if you give me that question offline, I can have a quick check with the dev team, all right?
Perfect. I will make you also organizer for you to have access to the questions.
Thank you so much.
Okay, perfect. Now you can, no more question. I think you can keep going, sorry.
No worries. So I've given you a high-level overview of what BigFix is from a platform point of view and some of the high-level functionality. This chart really shows quite a granular overview of what BigFix can do. So if I look specifically at lifecycle, these top few are the patching capabilities. So asset discovery, you know, what computers are on my network? What are they? What OS are they? What are they doing? Do they need to be managed by a BigFix agent or not? Patch management, compliance reporting, third-party application patching, offline, all patch content that is also offered with the compliance module. Now, where BigFix compliance and BigFix lifecycle differ is really on what they're aiming to do. So lifecycle again is very much IT ops. So it includes content like software distribution, patching server clusters, self-service applications. So rather than forcing software out to users, you can give them the choice. Do they want to use Chrome or Firefox? You can give them that choice in an App Store style offering. OS deployment. Again, if I'm rolling out 100 new laptops, you know, that's quite a laborious task. How can I speed that up? How can I pre-image those machines with all the applications a user will need and all the content a user will need? Or if I'm migrating from an older version of an OS to a newer version, Windows 7 to 10 is a good example of that. Remote control, specifically relevant nowadays with the economic climate. If I have users working from home and they are having IT trouble, how can I work with them to support them? And then power management for endpoints. Conversely, BigFix compliance is focused on, again, the security element of the platform. So leveraging security configuration baselines so that you know that all the endpoints in your environment are maintained up to a standard that you are happy with. We can leverage current international checklists like CIS or DSIS-STIG, PCI DSS, again, relating back to your last question, USAGB, set up these policies that you yourself are happy with. Vulnerability assessment is interesting because you'll get that patching content anyway, but understanding the patching is one thing, but getting the next level understanding of, just because I have the patches, what vulnerabilities are associated with those is really important. So what is it? Quarantining, AV management, and PCI DSS. Now, BigFix inventory is a little bit different. It's really focused on software inventory. So, in this case, hardware inventory as well. Hardware inventory across virtualization, out-of-the-box reporting on tools like Oracle, SAP, obviously Microsoft, and that out-of-the-box reporting comes with, as of yesterday, 102,479 separate software signatures. So day one, plug BigFix in, it will automatically check your endpoints for all of these software signatures and give you a report to say, yep, you've got this many Microsoft licenses, this many Oracle licenses, a couple of Java licenses. That content comes out the box. Equally, if there's any in-house software tooling you've got, you can add your own. If in your case, Tanguy, you've got tanguy.exe, we can add that as a signature and look for that thereafter and report on that as well. License usage metering. So it's all very well knowing what software you've got on there, but an understanding of what are you licensed for? Are you over licensed? Are you under licensed? Have you over purchased or under purchased? Giving you a delta, reporting on that delta on a regular interval. And also if there's any, what contract impact that is. If each license is worth, say, 10 euros, and you're over licensed by 100, that is an impact that you'll have to be aware of. And again, it's enabled with ISO 19770 standard support. A lot of reports come out the box, but also we can create your own reports as well if you're specifically looking for a specific tool. Now, recently we brought out BigFix Work from Home, specifically designed for users that have a lot of people working from home. So it includes the patching functionality, software distribution and remote control, and then some simplified onboarding process. So those users who are at home off the VPN can get their BigFix agent and start reporting back in again. We've also brought out some newer functionality, BigFix Insights. It's essentially enhanced reporting. You create a data repository, a data lake, and pull in data from your vulnerability scanners, perhaps, maybe a CMDB, and give that kind of BigFix and CMDB and vulnerability tool reporting that is more of a fuller picture of what you're going on in your environment. We've also got modern client management functionality. Utilizing MDM APIs, you can now manage your endpoints like an MDM tool, so remote wipe, passcode control, locking, wiping, setting specific policies about app usage, so on and so forth. And both of these modules, both of these functionalities are included in lifecycle or compliance. We've also got a multi-cloud functionality. So historically, endpoints have been generally physical, so desktops, laptops, servers, very easy to manage. Now with so much involvement with cloud, especially with test servers and the like, making sure you know what is going on the cloud side is important. So you can now use BigFix with the cloud. We've got integrations with AWS and Azure. So in that BigFix device list, you not only see which servers and which laptops and which mobile devices, but you also see what cloud devices you've got in the environment. Do you have 100 AWS servers set up for testing, 25 of which get trashed every week, which isn't a problem, 25 of which will be up for 3 or 4 months. Maybe they need an agent, maybe they need to be managed, maybe the software needs to be up to date on those endpoints, and getting all that visibility again in one interface really makes that whole process a lot easier.
Ben, we have other questions.
Please.
So before you go to the next one, first question, will the patching of Windows work in collaboration with SCCM, or BigFix does the patching on its own without SCCM?
So from an architectural point of view, BigFix does the patching. It has no reliance on SCCM, no dependencies in SCCM. It's a separate tool. It works in a completely different way. We'll cover how that works in a moment. But no, it does not need any reliance on SCCM. It doesn't work like SCCM. Now, you can use BigFix and SCCM at the same time. So I have users that use SCCM day to day, but the way that SCCM works means that often data getting out there isn't that fast. They see bottlenecks in WMI, so they also use BigFix to patch those Windows machines as well when they need it done quickly. And certainly from a heterogeneous point of view, having visibility of all your Windows devices and your Linux devices and your Mac devices in one place is more beneficial when SCCM obviously only covers Microsoft devices. So the BigFix is a standalone tool. It's not reliant on SCCM. It doesn't use SCCM or WSS or WMI in that case. But you know, I do have users that use both at the same time. Either's fine.
Thanks. Next question is, the OS deployment can be done for people working from home also?
Yeah, if you want to migrate a Windows 7 machine to Windows 10 to a user working from home, that's fine.
Perfect. Yeah, just also to add, and Ben, you can confirm if I'm wrong, but we have a work from home module that is made also for this.
Yeah, so the work from home module is more about it's about kind of day-to-day management. So the work from home module specifically covers patch, software distribution, remote control. If you wanted to do OS migrations for users from home, that's not a problem, but you'd need to use the lifecycle module to do that because that includes the OS deployment functionality. But yeah, not a problem.
Perfect. Next question. Can the compliance module help with removing users as workstation admin?
So I don't think you'd need to even use the compliance module. So the way the BigFix works is all of the data that you have, all of the tasks that you would have in your environment, well, essentially we call them fixlets. You can run any command against an endpoint that you can script. So we have out the box fixlets scripts in this case, or you can create your own. So you wouldn't need a specific compliance module to do that. You could just create that request, run it against an endpoint, and remove that user in whatever case. But if you send me that use case after the session, I can give you a clearer answer when I've got a bit more information.
Thanks, Ben. And last question. Can we add EOL or end of support in the software inventory?
Happily for you, we've already added end of life and end of support in software inventory. We have a number of reports that pull in data from standard users and will tell you not only all of the tools in your environment that are end of support, but also which tools are nearing end of support in the next 2 or 4 weeks. So yeah, that functionality is already inbuilt into BigFix inventory.
Thanks, Ben. That was the last question from now. So yeah, you can keep the presentation. I will let you know if you have more questions.
Thanks, Tanguy. I guess probably kind of taking the next step on that level, we've also got the ability to report on blacklisted software tools. If you specifically don't want people using, I don't know, iTunes, for example, we can get reports on tools that you've blacklisted, so you can see those in that inventory piece. So my next slide is really about architecture, and it will probably answer some questions about the SCCM piece as well. So there's a few key areas around BigFix. So first of all is the BigFix Content Cloud. That is on the HCL side. We take in patches from vendors and we do first line testing, and we bundle these patches up with what we call relevance language. It's basically the patch intelligence that determines which patch needs to go on whichever machine when it's sent down to you. And that gets sent down to you straight away over the internet through your firewall and then to your BigFix server. That BigFix server can be on-site, can be a DC, completely fine. Now, the way BigFix differs is, rather than like other tools that use like a round robin method, they'll put ping to one machine, ping another machine, ping another machine, relying on WMI, opening lots of ports. BigFix doesn't do that. BigFix uses one port only, and all the agents or the endpoints are responsible for talking back into BigFix every 15 minutes. So every 15 minutes, the endpoint will talk back in and say, hi, I'm a Windows laptop. Is there any more data for me? If not a problem. The computer will just keep on going as it's going. 15 minutes later, it'll talk back in. Now, that happens in your entire environment, so long as the computer is on and can be reached. Now, whether that's over limited internet or remote location, not a problem. The endpoint will talk back in and just say, hi, I'm here. Any more data for me? Yes or no, that's fine. Now, when there is data for that endpoint, it's a new patch, let's say a Java patch, that endpoint will pull that patch down and it will be applied in concordance with whatever parameters you set for applying patches. So perhaps you say, for all my Windows machines, I want you to download the patch first and I want you to apply it in the evening after people have finished work. It will do that. Thereby meaning that any information you get, any vulnerabilities you have, the endpoints are always talking back into the BigFix server, so you'll never have information later than 15 minutes past that last date. Now that 15 minutes can be reduced if you're particularly concerned, or increase if you're less concerned, but out of the box, 15 minutes. Now, that communication also happens to endpoints that are off the network, again, off the VPN, working from home, coffee shops. So what we do is use something called a relay. Now, this relay is a non-dedicated endpoint. So that could be something like a print server, even a desktop in a remote office, just a random relay in the DMZ. And the endpoints communicate over the internet to the relay in the DMZ, which again communicates back to the BigFix server. And again, that same check-in process. So these fixlets, this data that we're kind of sending you, optional data we're sending you, there's thousands out of the box. And then depending on what endpoints you have, you literally subscribe, you tick box what you'd like fixlets for. So maybe you want fixlets for Windows patches, Windows application patches, and some Red Hat content. You just tick those boxes, it will all be downloaded, and that data will be available to you on your BigFix server down here. Or you may decide that actually you're pretty heavy on Linux, so maybe you just want Ubuntu and CentOS patches, so you don't get any of the Windows content. But again, you pick what you want to consume. You can create your own. We've got training available if you want to learn how to create this kind of content. And again, within reason, you can run any kind of request against an endpoint, remove software, move folders, so let me know what the CPU availability is on an endpoint. This agent is continuously self-assessing, so it's always running, uses minimal system impact, less than 2% CPU out of the box, 10 meg RAM, and then throttled for low bandwidth environments. So I've got agents in the Arctic, I've got agents on shipping tankers. Somebody told me that I've got agents on the ISS. Wherever those endpoints are, so long as they can talk back in, they can talk back into BigFix and get that data. And again, these relays are non-dedicated. So I've got a bank that have 100,000 endpoints and no relays, and I've got a industrial company in the UK that have 300 endpoints and 3 relays, and 1 relay is a backup relay, 1 relay is for the main office, and 1 relay is for people working from home. Now again, the critical part of this is it's unlike other tools. So again, it doesn't open multiple ports, it only uses 1 port. It does not scan, there's no scanning process involved. There's no requirement for scanning. Every 15 minutes, that agent talks back into the BigFix server and checks to see if there's any more information for it. And that information is determined by HCL, where they'll say, right, well, this patch is specifically for a Windows machine, a Windows server that's 2016 that has this application, and therefore those endpoints become relevant. So I think this is my last slide, perhaps, just to cover integrations. So we've got a number of integrations already created, a few from the IBM days. We've got a QRadar one, which essentially allows the security team to see what patches are applicable on an endpoint or a group of endpoints, and request that the endpoint management team patch them, because they've got that enhanced data about CVEs, critical servers. I've got a quick screenshot of that afterwards. we've been working really hard on integration with vulnerability tools. Windows Defender is commonplace in the market, and also Carbon Black. This year, we've brought out integration with ServiceNow CMDB and Qualys as well. Now, that vulnerability conversation is interesting because historically, vulnerability scanning tools will look for specific signatures. Maybe they'll look for an MS-20 patch from August. Now, if you've got BigFix and you haven't patched that machine in August, maybe you've applied the MS-20 patch for September. BigFix knows if content is superseded, so it will only apply the latest version if it's needed and not apply older versions. But if it's a vulnerability scanner looking at that, it will say, hold on a minute, you haven't applied this August patch, and therefore that endpoint is vulnerable, not realizing actually the superseded patch will have covered that. Now, we've worked really hard this year to create a bi-directional communication pathway so that we hand that data off to the vulnerability tool, so it is aware that that is being patched, so you get that nice view in your vulnerability tool that data's clean and clear. And then we've got some additional focus going on for this year, including Tenable, McAfee, but to name a few.
We have another question, Ben. Is the vulnerability management automated?
So I guess it depends what you mean by automation. I guess the bi-directional communication means that the information will be handed off to the vulnerability tool, ingested and determined whether that vulnerability is still a vulnerability. There's very minimal or light touch for that. It leverages BigFix Insights as a platform and as a reporting tool to see that data. I guess one other thing, BigFix uses open REST and SOAP APIs. So these are the supported integrations that we kind of have out of the box, but there's nothing to say that there can't be additional integrations created, custom integrations created if tools you're looking to integrate also leverage REST APIs if you want to send data from point A to point B. And there are some quite nice ones out there on our BigFix forum. Next question, Tanguy.
Yeah, so just to clarify, by automation, it means planned for a specific date or a specific group of server. Just that was the explanation we gave me. And
sure.
Also another question for the Qualys part. Will it be reading for the Qualys reports and apply the remediation?
So just say that again for me.
For the Qualys part, will it be reading the Qualys reports and apply the remediation?
So I haven't seen it read a Qualys report. What we're doing is pulling data from Qualys into Insights, but I will double check whether it automatically applies that remediation for you. I don't actually know the answer to that, I'm afraid.
Perfect, thanks. No more question. I think we can go to, we have 5 more minutes, but maybe we can go for the demonstration.
Yep, sure. I will just show you a view of what BigFix and Curator look like. This is the Curator dashboard with the BigFix dashboard in it. And we've got an endpoint with a number of known vulnerabilities. They're breaking down into CVE and the relevant patches for that endpoint broken down into critical, important, moderate, low, and unspecified. We've got a number of sources of information. So we've got our main landing page. We have weekly webinars from the development team. We talk about latest functionality, what's coming up, any kind of integration we've pulled out. I can maybe show you that if I've got 2 minutes at the end. RFEs, requests, and then the very active BigFix forum for other BigFix users who are maybe working on exactly what you're working on at the same time. But in the interest of time, I'll quickly jump over to the BigFix dashboard to have a look at the data we're seeing. Okay, so this is the BigFix Web UI. I'm just going to talk on two areas. Firstly, my list of devices and what kind of information I can see, and then my list of patches and what kind of information I can see. And if I've got enough time, I might see if I can talk through a patch deployment. But here we've got an overview of my environment. So I've got 97 devices, 130 critical patches on a subset of devices, some software packages I've uploaded, some custom tasks that I've created. So that may be send a message to this group of computers or restart these computers. Some baselines I've created, which is essentially rather than rolling out one patch to one machine, just lining up a group of machines to pick up a group of patches. And some deployments that are currently open. My deployments are broken down here. I've got my new content that's recently been released. So I've got some Ubuntu content here, some SLES and some Oracle content, and also some popular patches, i.e. what are my team rolling out? So some MS-20 October content, some cumulative updates from November. Now, if I look at my devices, it'll give me an overview of all the devices in my environment, and I can see a summary of that information by when the endpoint last reported in, by the OS, by the group, and I can edit this in real time and it will update and it can be saved and emailed out. So maybe I only want to see Windows machines in this overview. That's fine, I can see those Windows machines. Equally, I may only want to report on my cloud machines. So here I can see some of my cloud endpoints are managed by BigFix. Some of them I'm utilizing the AWS or the Azure plugin. So they're not being managed by BigFix, but I can still see them. I still know that I've got them. Very helpful when you're reporting on what's going on in your environment. I think most importantly, if I filter by last seen, I can see when all these endpoints have last spoken back into the BigFix server. So there's compliance a few seconds ago. These machines here were 3 minutes ago. And I can see all outstanding content on that machine, any deployments I've rolled out that are or are not open. So that's the endpoint. And if I click on this compliance 01, I can see some information about the endpoint. Again, this is automatically pulled back by the agent. So I can see it last reported a minute ago. If there's an allocated user, I could see that. I can see the OS, the free disk space, what groups it's lined up to, the IP, subnet, endpoint ID, CPU, any critical vulnerabilities on this machine, and that can be reduced by criticality. Any custom content I've got there, any software I can have the option of rolling out on current deployments. So that's just pulling back the data I've got. Now, if I look at the patch side of things, I'm going to have a look at this critical content here, 133 patches. Again, I can see a summary of that kind of content and break it down by OS or by severity or by release date. And I may want to only see it by OS version, again, or release date or category. If I jump into this security update for Windows, I get some data back, vendor information about the patch that it may report back as pending restart, the KB number, the associated CVEs, the size, the release date, what site I've pulled it in from, and I can initiate that patch. I can have a look at the vulnerable devices and again break down by group. And in this case, I can deploy the patch out to my machines. And then pick what variables I'd like to look at for deploying that patch. So do I want to deploy it right now, or do I want to roll it out this weekend? And I want to try rolling out for an entire week, maybe. And then if it hasn't happened over a week, then I'll have a look in because maybe the computer's off or in a drawer or the person's on holiday. Do I want to stagger the deployment perhaps by a few hours? If it's a software tool, do I want to offer it out to a user rather than forcing it on them? Download the files first, force a restart if needed, or suppress the restart. But a lot of variables I can decide on how I want to deploy that patch of that set of content, and I can deploy it out. Now we do have auto patching, which allows me to create a policy that says, right, all of my Patch Tuesday Microsoft patches can get rolled out to my test group automatically. I don't even want to see them. I don't want to look at them. And then I can check in a week later. But that there, given it's 1 o'clock in French time, is probably where I'm going to stop. And I guess, Tanguy, any further questions? I haven't shown you a lot of functionality. It's quite a lot to fit in, but we can show you inventory, we can show you compliance at a later date. We can show you more about the web UI and more functionality if that's of any interest.
We don't have more questions, but of course, if you have any more questions, feel free to ask. Today, the idea of this webinar was an introduction of BigFix. So, of course, we will, if you want to have more information, if you want to have a dedicated session just for your need, we've had many questions about the Qualys integration. Feel free to ask. We will come also to you to have your feedback of the session and to do a follow-up session. But yeah, the idea here was to introduce you to BigFix, but we will do another session for you. Is there any more question before we end the webinar? I will wait a few minutes to see if you have more questions. No more question? Okay, so I will close the webinar. Thank you everybody for attending this session, and we will come back to you soon and send you the presentation. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.